So, ready to unlock a secret weapon to boost your English fluency. Today, we're diving into an episode of The English Globe, all about how body language can make you a more confident English speaker.
Yeah, it's interesting how much we focus on vocabulary and grammar when learning a new language.
Yeah.
But the English Globe episode reminds us that, what we do with our bodies can be just as important as the words we say.
It's true. I've definitely had moments where I nailed the grammar, but still felt like my message wasn't getting across.
Mhm.
So, how much of an impact does body language actually have?
Well, the episode cites studies that show over half of communication is nonverbal,
Wow.
even more so when you're speaking a second language.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Think about if you say to someone, I'm delighted to meet you, but you're avoiding eye contact and your shoulders are slumped, they're going to get mixed messages.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I've never really thought about it that way.
Yeah.
So it's like those nonverbal cues are adding another layer of meaning to what we're saying.
Exactly. And the episode makes a really good point about how positive body language can actually bridge the gap when your vocabulary fails you.
Uh-huh.
Like, let's say you're trying to explain something complex, but you're missing a key word.
Right.
If you use expressive gestures and maintain good eye contact, your listener can still grasp your meaning.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's almost like your body language is saying, hang in there with me. I'm trying to find the right word, but you're getting the gist right.
Exactly. It helps to create that sense of connection and keep the conversation flowing,
Right.
even if there are a few linguistic bumps along the way.
Okay, let's unpack some of the specific body language elements that the episode highlights.
Okay.
They talk about this power trio of
Yeah.
eye contact, facial expressions, and
Yeah.
gestures.
Yes.
I think most of us know that eye contact is important,
Yeah.
but I'm curious to hear their take on it.
Well, they emphasize the importance of finding that sweet spot between engagement and intensity. It's about making eye contact to show you're present and listening,
Right.
but avoiding that laser-like stare,
Yeah.
that can make people uncomfortable.
So how do you strike that balance? Any practical tips?
One tip they suggest is to focus on the area between the person's eyebrows.
Oh.
If direct eye contact feels too intense at first, it still conveys that you're paying attention
Uh-huh.
without feeling as intimidating.
That's a great tip. I'm definitely going to try that.
Good.
Now what about facial expressions?
Okay.
I know a smile can go a long way,
Yes.
but are there other expressions that are particularly important for English learners to master?
Well, they talk about how a genuine smile is like a universal welcome sign.
Uh-huh.
It puts people at ease and creates a positive atmosphere for communication.
I've noticed that even if I don't understand every word someone is saying, a warm smile can make me feel more comfortable and encourage me to keep listening.
Exactly. But they also caution against letting your facial expressions contradict your words. For example, if you're telling a funny story with a completely blank face,
Yeah.
it's going to lose its impact.
Right.
Your expression should align with the tone of your message.
It's like adding those exclamation points and question marks to your spoken sentences, right?
Exactly.
They help convey the emotional nuances of what you're saying.
Yeah, and they point out that using a variety of facial expressions can also help prevent your speech from sounding monotone or robotic,
Uh-huh.
which is a common challenge for language learners.
So let's bring our hands into the conversation.
All right.
What do they have to say about gestures?
Well, they emphasize that natural hand movements can add energy and clarity to your speech.
Okay.
You don't have to go overboard with dramatic gestures,
Right.
but even small, subtle movements can make a big difference.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say you're talking about something small, like a tiny insect.
Okay.
You could use your fingers to pinch together, showing the size. Or if you're giving directions, using your hands to point or gesture can make your explanation much clearer.
That's a great point. I've noticed that when I'm struggling to find the right word in English, sometimes a gesture can help me get my point across.
Absolutely. Gestures can be incredibly helpful for bridging those vocabulary gaps.
Yeah.
They also suggest observing how native English speakers use gestures in everyday conversation.
So it's like learning by osmosis, picking
Right.
up those natural gestures as you go.
Exactly. It's a great way to develop a more intuitive sense of how body language works in English communication.
I like that. So we've covered eye contact, facial expressions, and gestures.
Right.
What other body language elements do they recommend focusing on?
Well, they talk about the importance of posture,
Okay.
standing or sitting tall, projects confidence and authority even before you open your mouth to speak.
It's funny because I tend to slouch when I'm nervous, which
Yeah.
probably doesn't project the most confident image.
It's a common reaction,
Mhm.
but The episode emphasizes that good posture isn't just about appearances. It actually affects how you feel internally.
Oh,
When you stand tall, it sends signals to your brain that you're in control, which can help reduce anxiety and boost your self-esteem.
so good posture is like a power pose that can actually make you feel more confident.
Exactly. They suggest imagining a string pulling you up from the crown of your head,
Yeah.
lengthening your spine and opening up your chest.
Got it.
Give it a try right now. How
Yeah.
does it feel?
Wow. I actually do feel a little taller and more confident.
Yeah,
It's amazing how such a small adjustment can make a difference.
it really is.
Yeah.
And they point out that open gestures like keeping your arms relaxed and your hands visible
Hmm.
convey a sense of approachability and trustworthiness.
So crossing your arms is a no-no.
They can be, especially in situations where you want to appear open and engaging.
Okay.
They explain that crossing your arms can create a physical barrier between you and the other person,
Mm-hmm.
making you seem closed off or defensive.
That makes sense. It's like you're literally putting up a wall between yourself and the person you're talking to.
Mhm.
So open arms, good posture, engaging eye contact, expressive face. I'm starting to feel like a body language superhero. But I have to admit, sometimes I get so focused on getting the English words right
Yeah,
that I forget about all these nonverbal cues.
it's understandable.
Yeah.
But the episode makes a compelling case for why integrating body language into your English practice can actually make you a more fluent and confident speaker.
Okay.
And we'll delve into that fascinating connection in the next part of our deep dive.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of body language. I'm excited to keep exploring how these nonverbal cues can boost our English fluency and confidence.
Yeah, me too. We've already covered a lot of ground in the first part.
Yeah.
From the power trio of eye contact, facial expressions, and gestures,
Mm-hmm.
to the importance of posture and open gestures.
Right. And I have to admit, I'm already feeling more aware of my own body language.
Oh, good.
Even just sitting here talking to you.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? What else does the English Globe episode have to say about the connection between body language and fluency?
Well, they dive into how using confident body language can actually reduce anxiety,
Okay.
which is often a major obstacle for English learners.
Yeah.
Think about it. When you're feeling nervous, your body tenses up.
Mm-hmm.
You might start fidgeting, and that can make it even harder to speak clearly.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. My mind goes blank. I start stumbling over words and I just want to disappear.
Right. But the episode explains that when you consciously use confident posture and gestures, it sends signals to your brain that you're in control.
Okay.
This can have a calming effect, helping to ease those nervous jitters that often lead to hesitation and mistakes.
So it's almost like tricking your brain into feeling more confident. Fake it till you make it, as they say.
There's actually some real science behind that.
Oh, really?
It's called the mind-body connection.
Okay.
Our physical actions can influence our emotional state and vice versa.
Ah.
So by standing tall, breathing deeply, and using open gestures, you're not just projecting confidence.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually helping to create it from within.
That's so interesting. It makes me think of those power poses that we hear so much about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The episode even suggests trying a power pose before a challenging English-speaking situation,
Oh,
like a presentation or a job interview.
okay.
Just a few minutes of standing tall and expansive
Got it.
can make a difference in how you feel and how you perform.
I'm going to have to incorporate that into my pre-presentation routine from now on.
Yeah.
But even if we manage to calm those nerves, I think a lot of English learners struggle with the fear of making mistakes.
Yeah.
It can be paralyzing.
It's definitely a common challenge, but the episode highlights how using body language can help us overcome that fear.
Okay.
They explain that when we're focused on conveying our message through our whole body, we're less worried about getting every single word perfect.
That makes sense. It's like shifting your focus from grammatical perfection to effective communication.
Precisely, and they argue that this shift in focus can actually lead to greater fluency.
Okay.
When you're not so worried about making mistakes,
Right.
you're more likely to relax, speak more spontaneously, and take risks with the language,
Mm-hmm.
which is essential for progress.
So it's about embracing those imperfections and
Mhm.
trusting that our body language can help us get our message across, even if our grammar isn't flawless.
Exactly. The episode even suggests that good body language can sometimes help you get your point across, even if you make a grammatical error.
Oh, really?
It's like your nonverbal cues are saying, hey, I might have messed up that verb tense, but you get the idea right.
Uh-huh.
And most of the time people do get the idea.
I love that. It's so reassuring to know that we have this backup communication system even when our words fail us.
Yeah.
Speaking of words, I was fascinated by the episode's discussion of how body language can actually help us learn and remember new English words more effectively.
Okay.
That sounds counterintuitive.
It might seem strange at first, but there's some compelling evidence to support it.
Yep.
They explain that when you incorporate physical actions or gestures into your vocabulary learning,
Uh-huh.
you create stronger neural connections in your brain.
Interesting.
It's about engaging your whole body in the learning process, not just your mind.
So instead of just reading a word list or repeating words over and over again, we should try acting them out or associating them with specific gestures.
Exactly. Let's say you're learning the word excited.
Okay.
Instead of just saying it out loud, try jumping up and down or clapping your hands while you say it.
It sounds a bit silly, but I can see how that would make the word more memorable.
Yeah.
It's like creating a multi-sensory experience that helps the words stick in your brain.
Precisely, the more senses you engage in the learning process,
Right.
the stronger those neural pathways become. And the episode suggests that this approach can be especially helpful for kinesthetic learners,
Oh.
those who learn best through movement and physical activity.
I'm definitely a kinesthetic learner. I need to get up and move around when I'm trying to learn something new. This whole idea of using body language to learn vocabulary is really exciting to me.
Me too.
Uh,
It's a great example of how thinking outside the box and finding creative ways to engage with the language
Mm-hmm.
can really make a difference in our learning journey.
Okay, so we've talked about how body language can help us feel more confident,
Right.
overcome our fear of mistakes,
Right.
and even learn new vocabulary.
Yeah.
But how does it fit into the bigger picture of becoming a more fluent and natural English speaker?
Well, the episode argues that body language can help us break free from that textbook English rut
Mm-hmm.
that many learners fall into.
Right.
They explain that when we start focusing on body language,
Okay.
we shift our attention away from obsessing over grammar rules
Yeah.
and toward expressing ourselves more authentically.
I think a lot of us get stuck in that trap of trying to sound like a textbook, and it ends up sounding stiff and unnatural.
Exactly. It's like we're so focused on getting the grammar right
Yeah.
that we forget to breathe life into the language.
Right.
But when we start incorporating body language into our practice,
Mm-hmm.
we start to tap into that more intuitive, expressive side of communication.
So it's about moving beyond those rigid rules and embracing the way English is actually spoken in real-life conversations with all its nuances and imperfections.
Precisely. And they encourage listeners to view body language as an integral part of their English practice,
Okay.
not just something they do in social situations.
Got it.
It's about integrating it into your everyday learning routine.
Right.
They even suggest practicing your English speeches or presentations in front of a mirror,
Oh.
paying attention to your posture, gestures, and facial expressions.
That's a great idea. It might feel a little awkward at first, but I can see how it would help you become more aware of your body language and identify areas where you can improve.
Absolutely. And you could even record yourself practicing
Okay.
and then watch it back to analyze your body language and see how it's enhancing your overall communication style.
Now, there's one technique mentioned in the English Globe episode that I'm a little bit skeptical about.
Okay.
Mirroring. I've heard of it before, but it always seemed a bit manipulative to me.
I understand your hesitation, but when done correctly,
Okay.
mirroring isn't about mimicking someone's every move
Mm-hmm.
or trying to manipulate them.
Right.
It's about subtly reflecting their body language to create a sense of rapport and connection.
So if someone leans forward, I lean forward too.
It can be that simple, but it can also involve mirroring gestures, facial expressions,
Oh.
even tone of voice.
Okay.
The key is to do it subtly and naturally,
Right.
not like you're playing a game of copycat.
Okay. I'm starting to see how it could be helpful, but I'm still not convinced that it's not a bit sneaky.
Think of it this way. When we mirror someone's body language, we're subconsciously signaling that we're on the same wavelength
Uh-huh.
and that we understand them. It's a way of building trust and creating a more harmonious interaction.
So it's like saying, I'm with you, I get it, without actually saying those words.
Exactly. And this can be especially helpful when you're learning English
Okay.
because it helps you tune in to the rhythm and flow of the conversation.
Right.
By subtly mirroring the speaker's body language, you can pick up on those nonverbal cues that often convey meaning and emotion.
It's like learning a secret language, the language of nonverbal communication.
Yes.
But what about those situations where you're feeling really nervous or out of your element? Could mirroring actually backfire and make you feel even more awkward?
It's definitely possible. But the episode points out that mirroring can actually be particularly beneficial in those situations
Right.
where you might feel a bit lost or unsure of yourself.
How so?
Well, when you're feeling anxious,
Right.
it's easy to get stuck in your own head
Uh-huh.
and disconnect from the other person.
Okay.
But mirroring encourages you to focus on the speaker's body language,
Right.
which can help you feel more grounded and connected, even if you don't understand every word.
So it's almost like a grounding technique that can help you stay present in the moment.
Exactly. And they make an interesting observation about how mirroring can actually boost your confidence in social situations.
Oh.
When you feel a sense of connection with the other person,
Mm.
you're more likely to feel relaxed and comfortable expressing yourself.
I can see that when you feel like you're on the same page with someone, it's easier to let go of those inhibitions and just be yourself. And that's when the magic happens. You start speaking more fluently, using more complex vocabulary, and truly engaging with the language.
Precisely, mirroring is a powerful tool for creating rapport, building confidence, and unlocking a more natural and fluent English-speaking self.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light, but like you said earlier, it's all about subtlety, right? I
Yeah.
don't want to look like I'm mimicking people or trying to steal their moods.
Exactly. The key is to be observant and pay attention to those subtle cues,
Right.
the way they lean in and use their hands or mirror each other's movements, and then try incorporating those techniques into your own interactions,
Okay.
but in a way that feels natural and authentic to you.
So it's not about becoming a body language chameleon, changing colors to match every person you encounter.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's about finding those commonalities in body language that help us connect with others and communicate more effectively.
This has been so insightful. I feel like I'm starting to see body language in a whole new light. But before we get too carried away with mirroring and power poses, are there any specific body language tips or exercises that we can start practicing today to boost our fluency?
Absolutely. And that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive. We'll explore some practical strategies for using body language to enhance our English communication skills. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our final deep dive into the fascinating world of body language. I feel like we've uncovered so many hidden communication secrets already.
It is amazing how much we communicate without even realizing it. But there's one more crucial aspect we need to explore before wrapping up:
Okay.
how cultural differences can influence body language.
Right. The English Globe episode really emphasizes this point. What might be perfectly acceptable in one culture
Yeah,
could be completely taboo in another.
exactly. And the consequences can be significant. Imagine accidentally offending someone or misinterpreting their intentions simply because of a cultural misunderstanding about body language.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've heard stories about people getting into awkward situations because of cultural differences in things like personal space or eye contact.
It happens all the time, for example, in some cultures.
Mhm.
Strong, direct eye contact is a sign of respect and attentiveness. But in other cultures, it can be seen as aggressive or confrontational,
Oh, wow.
especially between people of different social statuses.
So how do we navigate this potential minefield of cultural differences? I don't want to accidentally offend someone or send the wrong message.
The English Globe hosts offer some excellent advice for this.
Okay.
First and foremost, they recommend being observant
Okay.
when you're interacting with people from different cultures.
Right.
Pay close attention to their body language.
Okay.
How much eye contact do they make? What kind of gestures do they use? How close do they stand to each other?
It's like becoming a body language detective.
Exactly. And by observing those subtle cues, you can start to understand the unspoken rules of communication in that particular culture.
But what if you're still unsure about something? Is it okay to just ask?
Absolutely. The episode emphasizes that it's perfectly fine and often appreciated to ask questions if you're unsure about a particular gesture or custom.
Oh, good.
Most people are happy to explain their cultural norms, and it shows that you're genuinely interested in understanding and respecting their way of communicating.
That makes me feel so much better. It's good to know that it's okay to ask for clarification instead of just stumbling around in the dark.
Yeah,
So be observant, ask questions, and I guess the rest is just practice.
practice is key. As with anything, the more you interact with people from different cultures, the more comfortable you'll become with navigating those differences in body language. And remember, it's okay to make a few mistakes along the way.
That's reassuring. We're all human after all. But it's not just about cultural differences, right?
Right.
Even within the same culture, body language can vary depending on the context.
You're absolutely right. The episode reminds us that what's appropriate in a formal setting like a job interview or a business meeting might be completely different from what's expected in a casual setting, like hanging out with friends or family.
So it's about being adaptable and using your body language to match the tone and energy of the situation.
Exactly. And as we've discussed before, it's about staying true to yourself. Don't try to force gestures or expressions that feel unnatural or uncomfortable. The most important thing is to be genuine and let your body language reflect who you are.
I love that it's all about finding that balance between cultural awareness, situational appropriateness, and personal authenticity. Okay, before we wrap up this incredible deep dive, I think it would be helpful to revisit some of the key takeaways and practical tips that we've uncovered. What are some of the things that have really stood out to you?
One of the most important takeaways for me is the power of a strong, confident stance.
Okay.
Standing or sitting tall with your shoulders back and your head held high instantly projects an air of confidence and authority.
Hmm.
And as we discussed earlier, good posture not only makes you look more confident, it can actually make you feel more confident.
Right. It's amazing how such a simple adjustment can make such a big difference in how you feel and how others perceive you. What else?
Another key takeaway is the importance of using hand gestures to add energy and clarity to your speech gestures are a natural part of communication, and they can help bring your words to life, especially when you're speaking a new language.
And don't be afraid to use your face, a genuine smile, raised eyebrows, a furrowed brow. Our facial expressions convey so much emotion and nuance, and they can make our communication more engaging and memorable.
Absolutely. And speaking of engagement, maintaining good eye contact is crucial for building rapport and showing that you're present and attentive. But as we discussed earlier, it's all about finding that sweet spot between engagement and intensity.
Yeah,
You want to make eye contact without staring people down.
right. It's like that Goldilocks principle. Not too much, not too little, but just right. Any other nuggets of wisdom that we should keep in mind?
Well, that might sound obvious, but I think it's worth repeating. Breathe deeply and relax. When you're calm and composed, your words will flow more easily and your body language will naturally reflect that sense of ease.
It's so true. I know when I'm feeling stressed or anxious, my body tenses up, and it definitely affects how I speak.
And remember that mirroring technique we discussed earlier, subtly reflecting the body language of the person you're interacting with, can be a powerful way to build rapport and create a sense of connection.
It's like that unspoken language that says, I'm on the same page as you.
Exactly. And it can be especially helpful in those situations where you might feel a bit lost or unsure of yourself.
So many great takeaways. Is there anything else that the English Globe hosts emphasize as we wrap up this episode?
They leave listeners with a final thought-provoking challenge. They suggest paying close attention to how people use body language in movies, TV shows, or even just in everyday life.
It's like turning the world into your personal body language laboratory.
Exactly. Observe how actors use their bodies to convey emotions, how people interact in different social situations, and how cultural norms influence nonverbal communication.
It's amazing how much we can learn from simply observing and analyzing how others use their bodies to express themselves.
It really is, and with practice, we can all become more aware of our own body language and use it to communicate more effectively in English and in any language.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the fascinating world of body language. I feel like I've learned so much about how to use my body to boost my English fluency and confidence.
Me too. It's been an enlightening journey.
And we hope you've enjoyed joining us on this exploration. Remember, your body speaks volumes, use it wisely, and keep practicing until next time on the deep dive.